Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
What's up, everybody? It's Combine Week. I hit the bench press today just to see how many reps that I could get in, and I am psyched, bro. I was a little bit down on how not fast the tight end class was this year, but, still hype for the Combine. We've got a couple guys that are there doing coverage live from the Combine this week. And I've just been psyched, man. It gets me rolling. I get into dynasty, fantasy. I'm already ready to draft my rookies before I even know their landing spot, which is very dangerous, by the way. I do not recommend. Landing spot carries a lot of weight, especially with these running backs coming in. But we're here, fellas. It is dynasty season. I've got a crew with me. NFL Combine. Just real quick, run around the room. Joe, you start us off. Just introduce yourself. Maybe let us know what is the most hype thing so far in the offseason, whether it be Combine or Senior Bowl, that you've been most excited about.
All right. So Joe Frick with Fantasy Football Advice Network, also do the Around the 412 Fantasy Football Show. Shout out to my boy Drew. As far as what I've been most excited about this offseason, I think it's really the quarterback carousel. So I think just seeing where all these different pieces end up. Shout out to Matthew Stafford for securing the bag and securing it quickly. There's nothing worse than drawing it out for an entire season. I'm looking at you, Brandon Ayuk, breaking Steelers heart fans everywhere. We don't need that. We said, hey, I want more money. We got it figured out in 48 hours, and now we can just stop talking about it, and now we can push the Aaron Rodgers to the Giants agenda. It's great. So let's see what else we can do with that. I think it's really fun, and we'll see what comes of the Combine tomorrow. I think it's going to be really telling.
Yeah. All right, Legendary, what's up?
Well, it is I, the legendary ball knower, a.k.a. your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster, co-host of the Dynasty Pulse. I am Chev Doer Sanders, a.k.a. Justin Curry, and I am here, and I want to talk to you. The thing that I'm most excited about is this running back class. I've been pretty keyed up about it since we started the scouting process on some of these guys. Like, you got a sneak peek at Ashton Genty. Hint, hint, he's the RB1 in this class. And I think that this one's going to kind of change the landscape of the running back position as we know it in the NFL. This is going to change depth charts. I mean, you're going to have some guys that take off, and, you're going to have some guys come out of nowhere like Bucky Irving did last year. I have a guy that I'm absolutely most excited about to do that, and I'll call that out if called upon to do so. And, yeah, that's who I am, and that's what I want to talk about.
Hi, my name is Sam Wise. I'm glad to be with you guys. My first time on the Fantasy Football Advice Network and from the forum. I am pumped about this draft. I've been looking forward to these running backs since before last season. I am a habitual rebuilder in Dynasty, and I had such a great time selling all my running backs, on so I could draft all brand new ones. It's like getting a new pair of pants. So I'm glad to be here with you guys and talk some shop. Let's do it.
It does feel that way. We talked about it a little bit last week. This does feel like kind of the changing of the guard for the running back position. Like, so many players are kind of hitting that, like, are they done stage, or like one more year left stage, right? And then you look at this class and you're like, man, you've got a lot of people that could really like ramp up and have a job. So like in Dynasty, I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, I'm so glad I stacked up on wide receivers this year, because I feel like round 1, 2, 3, and 4, I'm going to go all running back, and I'll probably hit like 2 out of the 4 picks at least and get somebody that's going to be solid for my Dynasty team. But it does feel like that. It kind of feels like that with the quarterbacks. I will say, though, it doesn't feel like you have as much quarterback talent coming into this draft as we've seen as previous, or at least not as much hype around those players. You know, Shevdur Sanders, you know, just lit it up at the combine. Shadur Sanders, sorry, I had to do a play on the name, but Shadur Sanders, you know, lit it up at the combine with his, you know, interviews. Obviously it wasn't his performance, you know, and that's another thing we see with the combine this year is so many players that aren't participating. And we'll kind of get that later in the show. I want to say, Albert, thanks for tuning in. What's up, Albert? I got Twitch over there saying what's up. Got Brent Bradford. What's up, guys? Ready for these running backs? Agreed. I am also ready for these running backs. I'm really interested tomorrow in seeing how they test. But, you know, that's not where we're at. Today was DBs. You know, we saw some safeties. We saw some tight ends. You know, it was interesting. The tight ends I wanted to see, I didn't get to see. You know, I felt like I waited all day for the tight ends to go, and then I was like left wanting, you know, like, you know, even we had, you know, whether it be injury, like the top tight ends, you know, came in injured, whether it be from the Senior Bowl or, you know, late in the season. So they weren't participating because of that. And it just kind of leaves you wondering. Let me ask you this for like a Loveland or anybody, does it affect your viewpoint on any of them, Chev?
No, not for me, not at all. I mean, this is so the important thing for me and my evolution as a dynasty player was using this as sort of a confirmation tool for what I saw on film. So if you watched Tyler Warren, you saw that he was a dynamic mover after the catch with incredible catch radius and incredible versatility. So I wasn't going to be swayed off of what I saw in the film. With Colston Loveland, you saw that he was able to separate at a high level and has the ability to break off the top of his routes like a smaller guy. He comes in, he's 6'5", which was taller than I expected for some reason. For some reason, I thought he was like 6'3", 6'4". He comes in at a true 6'5". And you know, if you measure at the combine at 6'5", like you're really close to like 6'6".
Yeah, for sure.
So these guys coming in, I mean, he comes in, even though he's not going to perform, it's not going to change what I saw from him on film. And so we'll probably get him at his pro day, most likely. I mean, I know he had the shoulder surgery or whatever, but we'll probably get to see these things at a pro day. And, you know, you're always a little bit faster. You know, that clock's you're a little bit quicker on the gun crossing the line at your pro day. So you're going to get some popping numbers most likely out of these guys at their pro days. And I can't wait to see it. I mean, it's kind of a letdown. And then, you know, Harold Fannin Jr., which, hey, we know what? I'm going to save my opinion of Harold Fannin Jr. because I'm really excited about that guy, and he did not excite me today. I'll just say that.
You know,
Go ahead, Joe.
It's funny that you say that because I think a lot of the combine and a lot of excitement that people get, I think that it gets overblown where it's like, oh, like we look at the RAS scores, like these different things. It's like, oh, he didn't have a 10 score, so like he's terrible now. I think there's a minimum threshold. There was something that I was reading today. They said that for tight ends, if you have below a 5, the only tight end to score a 5 or lower and hit 750 yards was Jordan Reed. And Jordan Reed, notoriously hurt all the time, and he pretty much did the combine hurt. So it was just like a precursor for his entire career. But he was above that metric. He wasn't dynamic as far as his results, but there wasn't anything that was like I think like the cutoff for tight ends, like there hasn't been a tight end with a tight end one season that's run slower than a 4.8, and he cleared like those kind of metrics. So it's almost like you just need to make sure that you're not terrible from a metric standpoint, but you don't need to be like the analytical darling of the combine. It's like you just need to be good enough. And I think he was that. It wasn't not going to elevate his stock, but it's not going to hurt it either.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's one of those situations where if you're a borderline player, like if you're really kind of fighting for your draft position, maybe the combine is a little more important for you. But everybody knew what Brock Bowers could do last year, and he didn't participate in the combine, and a bunch of tryhards decided that meant something, and it clearly did not. So if you're already one of the top guys coming in, and there's plenty of film, plenty of tape on you, that's where the real that's where you learn everything about them. You don't learn it just because of the 3-cone drill. I'm not saying it's completely useless, but there are some useless events in the combine that frankly, I wouldn't do them either, just because I think they're stupid.
Well, we got left wanting. We missed our top 2 guys, obviously, but we did get to see Fannin, and you've got Rusty Shackelford in there, Fannin or bust. We got a few more people popping in the chat. MA Football Guy and BHS Cardinal 16. Appreciate y'all tuning in. It is one of those. I do feel like there's more complete tight ends in this draft. You saw that in the blocking drills, like where you have some guys that can really accelerate. You don't have many guys that are going to blow the top off, and be able to smoke the linebacker, right? But you're going to have, like we saw it with Darnell Washington in Pittsburgh. Like you don't really have to. You can be a big guy, right? And you can still be effective on the offensive side of the ball. And so, it's not all about that, but we did see more complete tight ends where we think they can really do, decent in the blocking game and in the catching game. We got, let me see, Zaw Frazier, top 540 for cornerbacks. Mad Scientist popping in. He said, to be fair, Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't go to the combine last year, and he was a big bust this year. So players not testing can be a red flag.
Was he a big bust though?
I would say a big
that
bust.
he lived up to what he was supposed to be.
Yeah, he didn't deliver what everybody wanted, right? Like what everybody expected. What you got from, what you got from Brian Thomas Jr. I think that was what everybody expected the floor to be with Marvin Harrison Jr. Didn't happen that way. But, there is that dynamic where some people don't want – we've seen stock rise and fall. And I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. Like we got so much to cover in the show. But, you see so many people's stock rise and fall with combine performance. And sometimes, like, the athleticism carries. Sometimes it doesn't, right? Like sometimes you get superior athletic skills, but it doesn't translate on the field, i.e. who we talked about before the show, Anthony Richardson. We don't have to get on that train. But,
Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
It isn't a tell-all. Like you said, Sam, how they perform during the season, how they play during the games. Even me, like if you ask me to go when I was in school and I was playing basketball, if you asked me to go dunk, like to just on the gym floor, just go dunk, I was very subpar, but if I'm in a game and I got the adrenaline going and I go up for a rebound and then I'm there. I'm like, oh man, I could just dunk all day right here.
How about ups? This is shocking.
It's just like, when the adrenaline's going, when the game's going, it's just different. Right. And so there's a lot of that doesn't translate in the skills tests. Right. But anyways, back over here to Rusty. Say what?
I want to see you dunk. That's all I'm thinking.
I don't think
now.
I can anymore, man.
I don't think I can touch the net right now.
I did turn a backflip the other day on the trampoline for the first time in like 7 years, just got on there with my son. I was like, I'm going to try this. And just did a backflip. My wife was laughing at me. She was like, you're going to kill yourself. But
she was also like looking at your life insurance policy, like up.
She's probably hoping I fall and break something, She's like, you'll be home more now. So Rusty said Mason Taylor do well. Did he? I mean, I obviously watched it.
He did measure in at 6'5", though. So he was 6'5" and 1 inch, which is fun. But he didn't do any actual testing.
Yeah, somebody in the chat said he did the gauntlet drill, which that went viral almost immediately because he's got amazing body control while catching the ball. So that bodes well. I mean, he probably knew he wasn't going to run a great 40, but, hey, play to your strengths. So
your strengths. Yeah, he said he ran a great gauntlet. The only thing he did, and that happens. I did think I saw them. They covered him for a little bit during the 40, even though he didn't run it. Just talking about what his deliverables were going to be. Obviously, we'll see a lot more of the performance from these guys in their pro days where they feel a lot more comfortable. We got let's see, Angie popping in. Good evening, fellas. Thanks for tuning in. Millie Mills.
Uptown
What's
girl.
up, fellas? Appreciate you tuning in, Millie. Always a good time. He said, I don't care what my Falcons do, but Pierce Jr. needs to be our first rounder. Lots of talk about Pierce Jr. And on this show, I don't know how many of us here play at IDP. I do a little bit, but he seemed to be pretty exciting.
Man, he's one of the most physically gifted prospects in the draft, and that's been all over his tape for the last 2 years. I mean, he had 17 and a half sacks in the last 2 years, and he was doing it all with just raw ability and athleticism. You saw a couple times against Ohio State in the playoff game where he just popped off the film and it was like he's making a play outside the numbers on a screen or something like that. And it's like, who? Okay, so that was James Pierce. Okay, got it. All right. That's the defensive lineman. Okay, all right. And the beautiful thing about it is that he has so much room to improve as a technician, and all the physical tools are there. I mean, he absolutely blew me away with the drills and the way he was able to move yesterday in the wave drill. So, yeah, James Pierce is I got into it with one of my buddies because I said, I mean, there's zero reason to believe that Abdul Carter is just superior to him as an athlete. And I mean, we're not going to see Abdul Carter perform because he's about to debate on whether or not to have surgery again. But yeah, I think James Pierce is right up there for, top edge rusher in the draft.
Yeah, he made himself a lot of money, and to do all of that stuff like in a hoodie is just like unbelievable to me. Like there's something just so cool about it. Like I always felt like if Keenan Allen had a hoodie on, like he was a lock for 15 fantasy points in a game. I feel like with James Pierce, if he had a hoodie on under the pads, it's like he's definitely gonna have a strip sack. Like that's
you got hoodie Mello, you got hoodie Keenan Allen, and now you got hoodie James Pierce.
Yeah, that was sick.
Well, look, one more comment, a couple more comments real quick, and then we've actually got Brian and Brendan from Too Much Best Ball that are at the combine, and I want to get some on-site feedback where they actually, saw these guys. They got to do some interviews and just kind of maybe get a little bit of that nitty-gritty that the listeners are looking for. So if you are tuned in, go ahead and share this video to your friends because they're going to want to drop their questions into the guys on the ground. But, real quick before we hit that, Gunnar Helm did look slow. I think he hurt himself a little bit.
He was so slow. He's dead to me, pretty much.
And then Mad Scientist said Pierce is too high. He's going to need time to develop more of a project. Possible. And then Rusty Shackelford, new here, but that Burks jersey lets me know I'm in the right place. # never give up. That's right. More power. Look. If you
feel real to me.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
My guy. That Arkansas helmet on the back is also signed by him. So, it's going to be – it'll be what it is. He's always going to be big for Arkansas. I don't know if we'll do for the NFL, but I haven't given up yet. But
it's okay.
We're going to bring Brian and Brendan in. Let's see. Let me change the screen a little bit. What's up, fellas? How's it going up there?
What's happening?
How you doing, man?
Man, glad to be here. The chat's riding. I mean, what are you guys seeing on the ground, the comment? How's it been interviewing some of the players? What are some things that have kind of like stuck out to you?
You know what we're not seeing? Tyler Warren out there on the field. That was a disappointment. Waited way too long for that.
So sad.
A lot of hype for Warren. Got it in the chat. There's a lot of echo on y'all's mic.
Give us 2 seconds.
So we'll swap that out while they're doing that. Let's see, getting mad at echo. Remember when Luke like he sucked didn't suck good times? Yeah. Tyler Warren has caught a lot of hype going in. I think everybody was really excited to see him a little bit down that they didn't get to. He's obviously caught the most hype. I mean, he's projected the number 1 overall tight end and the only tight end that's actually projected in a first round draft capital in Dynasty. Is the hype there? Are we with it? I personally am never a tight end in the first round or 2 guy. I'm like a grab a third round guy. It usually takes them a couple years to develop anyways. But you get a Laporta. Laporta went in the 3rd round of most dynasty drafts, went behind 3 other guys, and it popped. So with tight ends, you kind of get that. But anyways, back to you guys. Tell us some of the goodies. Like what are we getting there? No sound.
Well, we fixed the echo.
I can't hear you.
Fix the echo, but now we can't hear you. Technical difficulties
Can I answer your question about Tyler Warren?
Yeah, go ahead.
So that makes it's tough in a standard scoring dynasty league to take Tyler Warren in the first round because of the fact that just law of averages, he's not going to outscore a running back that gets 200 touches or whatever the case may be. But in tight end premium, like almost any sort of tight end premium, I get pretty excited for that guy. So I could see him being a 2nd round pick in a standard league, but in a tight end premium, yeah. I mean, I've got 3 first round picks in the league, and one of those is going to get spent on Tyler Warren. It's like it's only 0.5 tight end premium. So yeah, I think he's going to be prolific at the next level.
So what do you think separates him? Obviously there's not much in this tight end class when it comes to you don't have a Kyle Pitts. You don't have one of these crazy athletes. What separates Warren to you? I mean, it took him so long to.
He was stuck behind other NFL guys. That's the first thing that we have to remember. Like, we helmet scout Penn State, and it's like, oh, what do? Put incredible linebackers and tight ends into the NFL, in addition to Saquon. So they've got some kind of formula over there. And it's just producing massive human beings that can run with the football. You got Brenton Strange, you got Pat Freiermuth. Like, he was playing behind all of those guys, and it took him a while to break out. Now, what did you see when he broke out? 17 catches for 200 yards against USC, him running Wildcat quarterback, him being able to just take the ball, just score from almost anywhere on the field and just be a complete mismatch. So what gets me excited about him is just him as a football player, not just like a pass catcher, but him as a football player, being able to catch the ball and make people and punish people at the contact point.
This is still no sound from our guys. They're gonna get
Nothing
this.
from the guys.
Are we good? Nope, still no sound. Keep working on it, fellas.
It's crazy because Brian's got that Darth Vader deep voice, and it just like when he's talking and nothing comes through, it's jarring.
I can actually feel it from Indy.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you want to get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm pretty sure it registers on the Richter scale.
Chev, you got some love on that last one. Legendary ball. Chev, right on the money. Oh, now I can hear myself going. That's no good.
My issue with Warren is, and I understand that that's the argument we're going to make, that he's been playing behind a whole bunch of other guys before he finally got his chance. But that doesn't change the fact that when he got his chance, that's still a very small sample size. It was a great season. You know what I mean? He played great. Does that guarantee that he's going to be, again, what everybody thinks he's going to be? Are we setting the bar too high?
I think it's just everybody's kind of looking for something, I don't think that necessarily the bar is getting set too high. I think he's, one of the best in this class for sure. And we do have tight end needy teams, even like, for example, Denver's already said, even though they have people, they've already said that they're looking to get a tight end. There are people that are looking for the position. And so there is a world, where he could get, pretty quick, snap share. Like he could actually get to a place where he's going to get immediate playing time. And he does have the tools to actually be relevant early. It's going to draft landing spot's going to matter a lot in which offensive scheme. There we go. I think I hear you guys now.
Nice. All right. Sorry, folks. 10 minutes later.
Yeah, no kidding.
You still got to hold the microphones, even if you're just pretending.
Oh, fair enough.
Roger.
It's all good. Got Angie popping in and said the Burks jersey is framed, so it doesn't lose any value while we wait for him to be good. So,
yeah, he has a crazy straight to catch, man.
loving the. And then mad scientist landing spot matters big time. Michael Mayer had a decent rookie year and is a damn good tight end. Would be top 12 if he wasn't on a team of Bowers, and it's true. A landing spot and the scheme matters a lot. But anyways, back to you guys. Give us the goods from the combine finally. Now that we can hear you.
Yeah, I mean it's been a blast. Getting in there today was it was a whirlwind. Every 20 minutes you got guys rotating in and out. We got the quarterbacks, the running backs, the wide receivers today, and you could tell there was charisma coming out of a handful of them, and then other guys they were just there so they didn't get fined.
Big facts on that one. Yeah, there's some dudes that were willing to answer every question you asked, and there's some that just sort of like very short worded. What I can tell you from size wise. Omari in Hampton is a unit. That dude I thought was a linebacker, and I could not believe it after watching the tape. I was like, oh my God, this dude's a running back.
Yeah, Devin Neal was a good guy to kind of listen to. We got good answers from him. I feel like both the Ohio State guys, Henderson and Judkins, we got great answers from. Genty, we only caught a little bit of that because gosh, there was a good
Genty
crowd
and Shooter
him.
Sanders had probably the biggest crowd, and like you were just suffocating just standing there with other people. So just trying to get anything off was basically impossible.
It's awesome. Now you guys are there getting to do interviews. Did you get to watch any of the on-field like skills drills and stuff like for the tight ends or DBs today?
So yeah, we got to do that actually just today. Tomorrow we'll get to watch the skills players, the quarterback, running back, wide receivers out on the field. But yeah, today we watched all the DBs and we stayed through half the tight ends. And we realized that Loveland and Warren weren't going out there.
They just did measurements and they said, we're good. And I was like, I'm sad now.
Yeah.
So
the dude from Oregon, though, surprised. He looked great out there. Their tight end.
Yeah, Ferguson.
Yeah, absolutely.
His name. Yeah.
Definitely pulled away from the rest of the group.
40 time at a 4.63.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, was there anybody that really, like, obviously we look at it from an outsider view, right? We're watching film, we're watching, games, different things like that. You guys getting to see them actually on field. They're doing drills or getting to like experience them was there anybody, obviously you mentioned, Omarion Hampton, who was a unit, anybody else that just like really stood out to you, where you're like your internal stock, like your own stock in a player kind of rose?
Emeka for me, for sure. The dude's intelligent. Dude is super intelligent. Everything he answered was articulated. I think he, even when it came down, even asking him like who his top 5 wide receivers were, he's very smart in the way he answered it. So obviously, when it comes down to, he talked a lot about watching game tape and game film. Like it's what all he does. He did it with Marvin Harrison with his years there. He did it with all the quarterbacks. He said he did it with anybody that was there with him. He did it the night before a game. So he really takes film studying really seriously. So like Emeka is something that probably moved up my board a little bit.
What about you, Brian?
I really like the chat with Ollie Gordon. I was really excited about him coming into the draft anyway, just after that 2023 season. This past year was kind of a letdown, all that hype that we had just a year ago. So just kind of listening to the way he kind of talked, again, another one of those guys that you could really tell that football IQ is up there a bit for him. So really excited to see how he tests tomorrow when we get to see him on the field.
Anybody else in the group want to, before these gents roll out, want to ask him any questions about kind of some of the coverage today?
What did Caleb Johnson get to do any interviews, and did he look as – I mean, obviously, Omarion Hampton is a known workout warrior. Did Caleb Johnson look like he was 225 pounds?
Yes, he looked like he was 225. I was able to ask him some questions. He was, he was, I wouldn't say he was short-worded, but he was very much like, I asked him, like, is there a running back you'd like to be paired with? I think he was the one who said he wanted to be paired with Joe Mixon. So a lot of the guys there, I asked him that question, like, oh, is there a running back you'd like to be paired with that you think you mesh well? And I want to say 50% of the guys that I asked all said Joe Mixon. Yeah. So whether that's because a lot of them like Joe Mixon, I guess he's a mentor to a lot of those guys, but a lot of those guys I think could see possibly taking over that backfield because he's getting a little bit older. So
genius.
Awesome.
Yeah, we had somebody said they wanted to be paired with Henry. I'm like, yeah, that's because you want to take over that Ravens backfield.
Yeah, right.
Derrick Henry will still be an RB1 like in 2050.
Yeah. Well, I've always said that Ravens, running back, the fact that you have to play Lamar just opens it up for running backs, and it doesn't matter if it's Gus Edwards, if it's Keith Mitchell, if it's J.K. Dobbins on a limp knee, like it doesn't matter who it is, they're going to average 4 to 6 yards a carry, and they're going to be electric. It's what happens when a linebacker has to be conscious of the quarterback. It just changes the game. So, I too, if I was a running back, I don't care if I had to play behind Derrick Henry for a year or two. I'd be like, yeah, let me go to the Ravens. Yeah. Like instant contract.
Yeah, that's taking contract gonna hit like Mike Tyson in the 80s once you get past Derrick Henry.
You know what? Everybody gets hurt as the Ravens running back. Yeah. Henry's really the only one in recent history that hasn't had their legs fall off or something drastic.
They're trying too hard.
He's part Minotaur, dude.
Yeah, Caleb Johnson was the one that said he'd like to get paired with Derrick Henry, and I was like, that'd be 2 behemoths back there, so it'd be pretty interesting. So,
yeah, I can't remember who it was. I was watching the interviews. I know that you mentioned Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon was like, hey, I can do anything. Like, I want to be all over the field. I can do it all. And then there was one running back that was like, hey, I just want to be a third down guy. I can't remember who it was.
Maybe Marks from USC.
I mean, I would profile.
He was smaller.
College career.
There's a couple guys there that when you obviously I'm 6'2", 220 myself, and when you stand next to a guy who's also 6'2", 220 that's not fat and all muscle, it's a lot different. So, but yeah, no, there's definitely guys there that were a lot shorter, Marks from USC. He'd probably fit that mold because he probably is maybe 5'8", 5'9" on a good day.
Jade on Blue, maybe?
Yeah, might have been. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I could see that too.
What did Devin Neal have to say? Was it anything noteworthy?
You were there with him, weren't you?
I don't remember him actually leaving an impression on me, which I was upset with. He was one of the ones I was excited because there was one grouping, like the 20-minute grouping, where we had like, I don't know, 5 or 6 running backs. We're like, all right, we got to get a taste of like each one of them. So like it was hard to get them. And I remember walking away from Devin Neal just upset that I didn't get more out of him. Like some of these guys were very short-worded, just like no, yeah. You know, like if you didn't give an open-ended question, they just yes, and they moved on. So I remember just feeling like I wanted more from him. I didn't get quite what I wanted.
Yeah, the running backs were a little more open than the wide receivers. Quarterbacks were pretty cool, though. Like, Dylan Gabriel was pretty cool. Shedeur Sanders, we were there for maybe a minute before it just felt like you were suffocating for a second. Because it was just like, you try to like shout out a question, it was just basically impossible, so...
Jackson Dart definitely looked the part.
Yeah.
Just the way he like commanded the room, kind of just taking questions. I really like just the way he pulled that off too.
Yeah.
Oh, the Dart hype runs wild.
I'm trying to minimize what we said. We'll see him more on the field, but like just as far as like personality wise and just like that leadership quality, you definitely felt that with him behind the podium.
And then my second question for most of the guys was like, I asked them about rankings. Like obviously for fantasy football, we care about rankings, and I said, do you ever catch yourself looking at rankings? And a lot of the bigger name guys, like I asked Omar and Hampton that, he said no. No, thank you. He said no, but like some of the guys who were like potentially undrafted were like, of course, I want to see where I stack up against it. So it's kind of cool to see the honest answers from some of the guys compared to the bigger guys who were just like, no, I don't care for that stuff, even though like deep down I know for a fact they're probably checking to see where they're slated to go and everything else like that.
Dude, that's awesome. I can't wait for tomorrow. I can't wait to see the guys perform. And before you guys go, I have one more question. And, Rusty said, hey, can we get who these guys are so that they can maybe follow you, maybe jump with your social media as you kind of share stuff as you're at the Combine? Can you let them know who you are? Maybe drop your handles in the down at the bottom of your name where they can maybe follow you on Twitter or something. Let them know where they can find you and your content.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Brian's in a comment below, but mine's Too Much B-Milk. Too Much Fantasy B-Milk, and then his is Too Much Brian.
Yeah, Too Much _Brian on Twitter, Too Much Brian everywhere else.
So,
well, and you can see those guys all the time on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network, Fantasy Football Advice Network YouTube channel. They are there weekly, drop-in shows, and always good shows, good content there. And Rusty, never worry about bombarding the chat, man. Bring it. So my question before you go. It was all over today. They were talking about old Scattaboo and him deciding not to do drills tomorrow. Did you guys get any interaction with him? What was your take? Obviously, there's a lot. I think it really hurts him not like running the 40 personally, because that was the one question mark when it came to him was like game speed. Did you guys get any interaction, thoughts there?
For me personally, like I always thought he was going to be a day 3 pick regardless. So him not running, I didn't think had any value, changing his stock or not. Personally, I'm fading him. I think he's more of a hype Cinderella story name from, the aspect that they took Texas to double overtime. I don't think he's worth what people are going to pay for. I think he's, it was a nice Cinderella story. Other than that, I'm not touching him in any kind of fantasy aspect. I'll be very shocked if he's a day 2 pick. Like I'll be genuinely shocked if he's anything more than a day 3 pick. So,
yeah. What about you, Brian? Any takes there?
Nothing concrete at this point. I want to see a little bit more out there on the field. I guess I won't from him necessarily, but like just like what I what I can kind of compare him to, what some of these guys are going to be putting out there, but I don't know.
He also avoided media day today.
Yeah,
we waited for him because like he actually had a big crowd waiting for him and he didn't come. So we weren't sure what happened, or we were looking on Twitter from any of the bigger guys, but nothing was said. So all we were told is that he's not doing anything. So
watch this, guys. That dude is good. That dude is a San Francisco 49er. That's the Kyle Juszczyk replacement. Watch it.
Look,
Watch.
I've said it.
I can see why you say that. That makes sense. He could be a fullback and do very, very well in this league under that system. I do see that.
I don't know, man. I watched that guy push an offensive lineman for trying to help him up. That ain't a fullback kind of player. He's
not a fullback
He's too diva to be a fullback.
So a Dolphins fullback is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, or replacing the Ravens fullback too.
Oh, Ricard?
Yeah.
No, I don't see him. I don't see him doing a whole lot of blocking. I see him just being like the gadget guy that people forget about, and he punishes people.
Yeah.
Like Kyle Juszczyk, he's probably a better running back. Well, he's definitely a better running back than Kyle Juszczyk. So yeah, that's where I kind of see it. Like the hype. If he lands in the perfect spot and they give him all the volume, then I think that's it's. But I mean, the keyhole on that one is, you're trying to fit a football through a keyhole, trying to get him into a perfect situation.
And there's no defense in the Big 12. If we're going to be honest with one another here. So like his stats are like they're great, but like there's really no defense in the Big 12. And like it was amazing that he did well against Texas, and like it was a Cinderella story. But let's just be honest, like Quinn Ewers shot himself in the foot halfway through that game. So I think Scadaboo is great. I think it was a well story. I hope he gets drafted. Hope he makes a lot of money. But again, I don't see him having any fantasy value in return of drafting him in anything in Dynasty related.
Well, man, guys, I appreciate y'all giving us a little bit of your time. I know you got tons to do. Thanks for jumping on, and good luck tomorrow. I'll be looking to see if I can see you on the TV somewhere out there in the crowd. But yeah, have fun and enjoy the combine.
If you hurry up, you might be able to catch the end of Gunnar Helm's 40.
Dude, that was bad.
See you guys.
We watched. That was bad.
Oh my God, that's a banger. That's good.
Oh goodness, you guys! Look at Samwise dropping the one-liners.
Oh man, I'm cooked right now. That got me weak.
You're a hero.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1, go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2, collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3, play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4, unleash your excitement.
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Real quick, I'm going to hit the chat because it was going off. Rusty in there. Sorry for bombarding the chat. Never apologize for bombarding the chat. Keep it coming. Cam going to be a back. Cam kind of gives me like, I feel like his usage in the NFL, and I've said it, since we started covering, is a fullback conversion, like a Kyle Juszczyk, like a gadget style player. And, not that he can't be good as a running back. We've seen people like him. Like, you go back, and I'm going to another Arkansas guy, right? You look at like Peyton Hillis, right? Like Peyton Hillis was electric early, right? But then as they age, right, they start putting on that more weight. They get thicker. And I mean, I know he came back later and he played some running back for like the Giants and stuff. And like, he was freaking a hammer, but the hammer, it brought on concussions, it's like, just because he was so big running through the hole. I think a converted tight end that can do, or a converted fullback that can do a little bit more in the passing game, that can be a little bit more of like a full encompassing role, right? Not just to block, not just to lead into the hole, but to be able to get on the flats, to take a screen, to, throw a few wrinkles in the game is a way that I think he could be used. I do see him going day 3. I don't see him going day 2. Maybe if somebody really likes him in his interviews, but I think he's more of a day 3 guy. And he's going to have to find a role like that, like a Juszczyk role, in order to make a roster, in my opinion. But, obviously there's a lot of hype. I think he's an example. I think not doing the combine hurts him. Like if he went to the combine and he ran, even you look at like Peyton Hillis was like a 4.66 40, like he went in the 7th round, ran a 4.66 40, got released, went to the Browns, made the Madden cover, it's a story like that.
He ran a 4.57.
So if you can run, like he could, I think if he ran even like in the 4.5s, I think even if he ran a 4.6, he improves his draft stock because it takes the question away, right? And you see that so often, people are afraid to get out there because if they don't, right, like if he gets out there and he runs a 4.7 or a 4.7,
he might not get drafted or something like that,
right? Which I mean, at day 3, it doesn't really matter, right? Your day 3 money is going to be so minimal in comparison to your early rounds. So it's like, I don't know. I don't think it really helps. If you're a Genty, it makes sense. Why risk getting injured? You're going to be the number 1 running back selected, most likely, unless somebody comes out tomorrow and like blows out, like somebody runs a 4.3 something that has some weight on it. Like if Hampton comes out tomorrow, not that he will, and he runs like even like a 4.4.
He's probably going to run a 4.4. He hit 22 miles an hour back-to-back seasons at Iowa.
Hampton could run a 4.4 on his hands, and he's not getting drafted ahead of
he's still Genty is as locked as Caleb Williams or Trevor Lawrence in his draft class, like as the quarterback 1. Like that is stamped. Unless he comes out and like just harms someone on camera, he is going to be the running back 1 in the class.
Even then.
He'll just definitely get drafted by the Raiders.
Yeah, even then, somebody will. Well, because nobody wants to be the team that takes the first running back off the board and make it not the consensus guy that everybody say. You could say all you want about interviews and private workouts and everything like that, but there is an aspect of this that's appeasing the fans. You pass on Genty and everybody's at your throat.
That's fair. Yeah.
I mean, personally, like, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I don't need to get into it if it's me, I would rather trade back a little bit and get a Hampton than spend up for a Genty. I have my reasons. We can get into that. But, I am excited about the class. Even like people like, Robbie popped in, or Rusty said in here, can Ollie squeeze his way into first-round drafts? Like with the running backs, there's no telling. If you go to a place where it's like possible that you get like day 1, carries, where it's like kind of undecided, even, like –
Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Even teams that are like kind of on the fringe, right? Like that have, like the Ravens, they didn't want to run Derrick Henry a ton. So, you saw them use
Justice Hill.
Yeah, Justice Hill a ton, like there's ways that they can have instant relevance. Denver's looking for a running back. They're not happy with any of their 3 guys, it just there's so much opportunity out there. It's an exciting year for the draft. So you guys know, and I'm going to try to keep us moving along. We've got a short amount of time, but you guys know, on the show, we always try to go to the Fantasy Sports Advice Network and answer a couple questions from the chat there. This show is put on by the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. If you haven't gone to it, you need to go to FantasySportsAdvice.network and sign today. It's the social media platform for fantasy sports. And so we're going to hop over there right now and see what questions are waiting for us.
We are here. We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com today.
All right, so we're going to throw up this question from the Geezer. Can Genty fall as far as the 49ers as a replacement for the aging injury they're dealing with, trying to do combat with Philly and Detroit? Would Lynch and Shanny trade up to get Genty, sell off CMC to a dumb owner like Jerry Jones? I'm going to stay out of this question because, as you can see, I have a Christian McCaffrey's autographed jersey on the back wall. So I feel like my answer is going to be biased. But if you can see, I did comment right below on that. Don't be hating on CMC. So I'm going to turn this over. Sam, your thoughts. Are the 49ers looking to get a running back? Would they trade up or would they try to take a Genty? Could he fall to them? Or would they deal off CMC? Are you seeing any of that happening?
The 49ers are always looking for a running back. They come out, seems like they come out of every draft with one or two. That's a Shanahan thing. Do I think that Genty can fall to them? No. And if he were to fall that far, somebody else will jump up further and take him before he gets to San Francisco, because they won't let him become that heir apparent to CMC. So, no, I don't see it happening. If he makes it past, if he makes it past Vegas, honestly, I'd be pretty surprised.
You think he's going top 6?
I think he could.
The Giants have the opportunity to do the funniest thing of all time.
Yeah.
I don't like where this is going.
Well, it's not, but that's not completely unheard of though, because I'm assuming you mean them taking Genty.
Yeah, as a Saquon replacement.
I don't think it's unheard of, because Mara was just absolutely beside himself after they lost Saquon Barkley to the Eagles. I'm surprised he didn't fire the whole staff at that point. But he was so upset about it that not attacking the running back position this year, be it in free agency or the draft, with somebody that's a slam dunk, would really surprise me.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of teams that are potentially needy for the running back early. The Giants fit that mold. I don't see it happening. Cleveland is in a weird situation. I also don't see it there. It just doesn't seem to make sense as far as needs. The Vegas situation could be fun. New Orleans, you have Kamara, but you don't have a lot behind him, so he could be there. Chicago, they might want like a David Montgomery sort of piece with Swift. I do think that he could be there at 11. I think if that happens for San Francisco, what I would expect is San Francisco to trade down, because I think a lot of teams, they're going to see Dallas as like hey, this is a very logical fit. Even though they didn't formally meet with him in the combine, we could see a scenario where San Francisco trades back. I think they're going to either go offensive tackle or defensive line in the first round. So I don't expect them to do like a CMC replacement. So I wouldn't expect it, but he very much could be there at 11. I think you have a lot of teams that are QB needy early.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you want to get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
It's really going to be interesting to see what the quarterback situation leading up to the draft for the teams that I mentioned to see whether or not they're going to be willing to make that kind of a move for a luxury position at that high in the draft.
I like it.
I could see that, and actually, now that you mention it, you can, if he does fall that far, I could even see San Francisco's calling Jerry Jones and saying, if you don't trade us for this pick, we're going to trade it to somebody else, and they're going to take it.
Love the heat. We're going to pop over here real quick again and answer another one. I say a question. This is more of a statement, but wish list comes in. He says, Dynasty, trade a second rounder for Devontae Adams right now. He will most likely be a free agent. He still has gas in the tank. He can pick and choose to play with quarterbacks like Herbert, Josh Allen, Burrow, if Higgins leaves, or Jaden Daniels. He's more reliable than like an Amari Cooper was last year, the fall of Cooper Kupp. Adams a difference maker. Let me ask the guys here, are any of you in Dynasty, if somebody's willing to give you Devontae Adams for a second-round pick, and I'm going to even push the envelope, let's say it's an early second-round pick, first half of the second round, are you pushing?
If I'm a contender, yeah, I would be willing to do that. If I'm in any sort of angst or like uncertainty about where I stand, I would not give that pick up. I mean, yeah, Devontae Adams comes out, he finishes wide receiver 10 in total points, but I mean he's going into his age 32 season, and he doesn't have a team right now. Obviously, the Jets are going to move on from him, so yeah, he could pick his landing spot, but if he picks a landing spot where he's not going to be in an ideal situation to command targets, like what is that worth?
Bingo.
So, and the organization's obviously not going to have long-term contractual obligations to him. So it's like, if you don't like it, kick rocks. And I mean, unless I am a bona fide contender and that pick is going to be, a late second, most likely. Well, I mean, we know it's going to be a late second. Either you were, top 3 or 4, or you weren't. So, yeah, the only way I would give it up is if it's a back-end second rounder. Anything early in the second round, no.
Yeah, I think the value is fair for the trade, but there's too much uncertainty of where he ends up for me to pull the trigger. If I'm a contender in Dynasty, I really don't like dishing out picks this time of the year. I'd rather give up the pick to make the final push, because if you're reliant on a couple of folks, and this is a pick, say, for 2026, and you're like, oh, I'm going to be a contender, this is going to be a late pick, and you start making those trades now, you have a couple injuries, that turns into the 201, then you're like, okay, I don't want to make that. If it's for this immediate draft that's happening, yeah, sure, maybe if you're wide receiver needy, it's not really a wide receiver heavy draft this year, so it could work. But I think there's a lot of risk there, which is good if it breaks your way, but there's a lot of scenarios where it won't. Yeah. So I'm just more risk averse than that sort of stuff.
Well, and there's something to be said for the fact that you should keep these draft picks because it's, I don't care what anybody says. It's not, everybody's talking like this draft class falls off a cliff, and it really doesn't. There's talent to be found. It's just a little more barren in the wideout area. But who's to say that, even if you think you're going to be a contender, well, how do you win? Well, you've got a strong ass bench. You really bring guys in that can step in because of injuries. So, wait until you're a contender and trade your future picks instead of this year's.
Yeah, and I would always say when you're trading picks, like right now, like to me, a second for Devontae Adams sounds okay. It's palatable. It's not something I'm like really excited about doing. It's palatable. However, and when you hit draft time, right, and like all these players like get their draft landing spots, and then the hype starts circulating, then your picks hit another level of value, right, where all of a sudden you may be getting a Devontae Adams, especially if he still hasn't signed anywhere at that point, which is highly possible. You're getting him for like a third, early third even. Like it just allowed the picks to develop. Like I know everybody's really excited. Rookies are going, dynasties opening up, off seasons opening up. And you're like, I'm ready to deal all my picks now and get some, build my team up. Just chill for a minute. Let people come to you. I'm
Go do a basketball draft, have a beer.
Yeah,
just relax.
Just step away from the keyboard, guys.
Yeah. Let them come to you, and I promise it's going to deliver. Even like as you see Pro Day and you see like Shedeur stack rise, right? Somebody comes to you and they say, okay, well, I really want Shedeur, or I'm really interested in Shedeur. Okay, and they've got somebody like a Jalen Hurts on their roster where they kind of feel like Jalen Hurts is fading a little bit. All of a sudden, you're trading that first-round pick. You're leaving with Jalen. They get Shedeur, and everybody's really happy. It's just not that that's going to happen, but what I'm saying is your draft pick value will rise considerably as you get closer, and that kind of leans us in to our next question. BHS Cardinal said the draft's a huge cluster for me right now. It is for most people, but who is QB1 in this class?
Jeff, who do you think?
It is a volatile question, but for everybody that is listening right now, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Who is quarterback 1 in this draft class?
Are we talking like real life quarterback, or are we talking about fantasy?
Let's go fantasy. Well, and it connects to real life because what you want in Dynasty, you want longevity, right? And you want performance. So you want them to be relevant, and you want them to perform, and you want them to do it for the next 10 years. Because when is the next time you're going to have an early first-round pick to be able to grab one of these guys? Probably next year. If you have that top 5 pick, who is the guy?
I wouldn't take any quarterback in a top 5 pick this year. I don't think that any of them are worth it. I know that Cam Ward is like the consensus QB1. I think that he has some flaws in his game that make me a little bit nervous about drafting him. If he goes first overall, you might just have to kind of run with that. Or if Shedeur Sanders goes first overall, it's like, all right, the NFL obviously sees something. I'm just a guy that's sitting on the couch. Let's not overthink it. Let's go do this. And then if it busts, it busts. But the hit rate on a QB going first overall for like a solid fantasy floor for at least a couple years, they'll retain their value. Even if they struggle early, we see it with Bryce Young last year. He came on to finish the year. You could get your return on capital after that atrocious rookie year that he had. But for me, I don't see any of the quarterbacks as a top 5 pick. Sanders, for me, the big issue that I have is there's so many running quarterbacks that there are right now. Given that that is not his game, it's going to be hard for him to be fantasy relevant, even if he does have the draft capital, even if he is like a decent pocket passer. Like that is not a successful fantasy quarterback anymore that you have to see. He needs to be throwing a lot of touchdowns at a high clip, and the team that he's probably going to isn't going to be scoring a lot. So for me, I probably won't be looking at quarterbacks. If I am looking for a quarterback, which I do have a team that is, I'm probably looking to either trade down and grab a guy that's already established in the league or punting until next season.
But the question, who is your QB1? Like if there was somebody that you were going to target, number 1 overall, like when it comes to the quarterback, who is your guy?
I'm going to take the highest guy that gets drafted. Whoever gets drafted first in the NFL, go for it. I don't feel passionate about any of them.
Fair enough. Take that's your draft capital argument. Like whoever's going 1 overall is probably going in to start instantly. So, you could have a Bryce Young year 1. You could have, a Jaden Daniels year 1. Who knows? But, at least you get instant capital for your fantasy teams. What about you, Chev?
Oh, the quarterback 1 in this class for me is Cam Ward, and it's not necessarily close. Like, just everything, being able to play off schedule, being able to escape the pocket, being able to keep the play alive. He's the most creative and the best at it. Jackson Dart had the most yards on deep passes, on passes that travel 20-plus yards in the air of any quarterback in in Football Bowl subdivision this year. But for me, it's Cam Ward, his creativity, ability to play off schedule, the different platform, off platform, arm angles and everything. Cam Ward's a quarterback 1 in this class. Now, Shedeur's my QB2, and I will accept no other answers, but Cam Ward is QB1.
I'll follow up on a little bit of heat on that in a minute. But Sam,
I I think like Joe was saying, there's some holes in quite a few of their games. For me, and thanks for the layup, Chev. For me, it's Jackson Dart. I'm actually targeting him in a number of drafts that I'm in, whether I need a quarterback or not. The tape that I've watched, he is the prototypical NFL quarterback. He can make all the throws. He's increased his accuracy every single year, almost hitting 70 this year. And I think he's going to be ready to go as a rookie and not have to solve any problems. And, I mean, he still ran for 600 yards last year. So, while he's not a mobile quarterback necessarily or running quarterback necessarily, he is mobile enough to give you that extra fantasy yardage too. And he just, as far as intellect goes, I think stands head and shoulders above the rest.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
I like both. I think that the separation, I guess they're two different style quarter. Like I like the Cam Ward argument. Cam Ward is more creative and he can throw off platform. He can do the sidearm. He can get it out. The thing that has impressed me about Jackson Dart has been the touch throws. The throws that need to go right over a DB's hands and then somehow land right in the pocket. Those throws are good. And so for me, those two kind of lead the way. I'm really interested. I think that both, you look at a dart, you can probably get a dart in Superflex in the back half. Unless the hype goes crazy after Combine and after Pro Day. Right now, that's where he trends. His value has obviously risen as we've gone throughout the draft and as the hype has grown. But he's also – the other side about Dart is the confidence. He's got a high level of confidence when he approaches the game. But against that, if he starts getting sacked a lot, it's kind of that with draft day, Bo Callahan, once he starts getting sacked and he gets in his head, he can lose a lot of his game. Which is his downfall to me. Just a little bit of look. I think Cam Ward's a little bit different. I think he's used to getting hit. He's used to trying to make plays with his legs. I just want to see him. I want to see him process more. I want to see him go through his reads. I want to see him work on his touch pass a little bit. But, I saw they show the highlight all the time where he had a tight end running into coverage. He threw him on his back shoulder. Tight end turns, catches it, runs upfield. He's got a good feel for the game. So I'm excited about those two. I'm not as excited about Shadur. Just me. You can hate me. I know we got Chev Doer Sanders in the show. But, it's just where I'm at. We'll see how it goes. I can be proven wrong, and I am open to being proven wrong.
So in terms of, I've run a bunch of rookie mock drafts. This is from pre-Senior Bowl ADP, 15 mock drafts I did. Cam Ward is at the 108. Shadur is at 112. Jackson Dart is currently at the 210.
I love that value.
That's crazy value, and I would be in at that value.
I would draft both.
Yeah, I think that quarterbacks are the most insulated from a value perspective in terms of maintaining dynasty value year over year. So you could have Jackson Dart go somewhere and not play immediately, and then the minute that something positive happens, his value it skyrockets, and then when he gets an opportunity, it's worth first plus. You got him in the back of the second round. Last year, Bo Nix was going around
third round.
Yeah, in Superflex, I remember
second round. Yeah,
yeah, he was between 112 and 205. That's a smash. because you have the opportunity to get a lottery ticket. And now Bo Nix is a top 8 dynasty quarterback. I mean, you can't accept any other. You're going to get a first. You're going to get first, whatever you want, and be able to get into almost any, like the elite tier, the Jaden Daniels, the Josh Allens, by just taking Bo Nix plus something else and being able to package that up to get up to one of the elite elites. So, and then
here's a crazy thought. Crazy thought. Ole Miss let Bo Nix sail the seas so that they could bring in Jackson Dart.
Wait, all right, say it again.
Ole Miss let Bo Nix roll out to Oregon so they could bring in Jackson Dart.
Well, he was at Auburn. Wait.
Yeah, he was at Auburn.
Auburn, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's a legacy kid at Auburn. Like, my wife's an Auburn alum. I played for Coach Freeze. He had to get out of Auburn. He was never going to blossom into what he turned into out west.
I think something that's interesting that I find about Jackson Dart, if you look at the number of quarterbacks that have had at least one QB1 season that have had at least 90 carries in like their final year of college before declaring, it's exceptionally high. He had over 120 carries this year. So I don't know if he's the long-term solution, but he's one of those guys that he could have like a good fantasy year, but not a good real life year. And then you kind of flip him off and you dump, unless you are a dart truther and then you run with it. But you look at like somebody like Daniel Jones that had like a QB1 season, or you look at like who like doesn't necessarily have any relevance today, but after that year that he had that, it was like, okay, he's a top 12 guy. He can run. He can do this stuff. Like Dart fits that mold of like the mobile kind of guy. It'll be interesting to see with Cam Ward. He had like 127 or something attempts before he transferred to Miami his last year. He didn't run as much last year. So he has that potential as well, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you got to look at that Washington State Cam Ward. Because, Mario Cristobal, Miami's head coach, is notorious for putting together a hellified offensive line. So Cam Ward is creating within the pocket and creating new pockets, as opposed to, because a bunch of those guys are going to play on Sundays. That's just how Cristobal does things. Like he goes and gets guys that he's going to mold into Sunday guys. So Washington State, Cam Ward, you can see a little bit more of the athleticism. At Miami, he was constantly moving around and creating new pockets because those guys can block their butt off.
Love it. Love it. Okay, so
hold on one second though. We haven't talked about my quarterback 3 in the class, the guy that nobody's talking about, Will Howard. Bring it on.
Give us some Will Howard heat.
I am the most excited about Will Howard because nobody's talking about this, and we've done it with almost every national champion quarterback in recent memory. So Will Howard, prototypical size, 6'4", 235 pounds. The short just dropped. Joe, thank you again. Okay.
I was going to say, I feel like I listened to this for like hours last night.
I mean, so you're talking about the mobility. Will Howard has a 70-yard touchdown and an 80-yard touchdown in a Kansas State uniform. Then last year against Penn State, like with Quinshon Judkins, 2 guys that we think are going to be day 1 and day 2 picks, Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson, they used Will Howard to close the game out running student body left. So he's got the mobility. He's got the big arm. You're talking about layered throws. We're doing the scouting. We're doing the rookie guide for FSAN, right? And I had to do Will Howard, and there's tons of times where there's just the ball's in the perfect place for his receivers to just catch and run. Now, he did have aliens and professionals that he's throwing to at Ohio State, but that's something to be said that these guys were just smooth, catch and run, layer throws over the middle. Like he's putting the ball in the tight end's hands, like over a linebacker, under a safety. Will Howard gets me bricked up in the cement aisle, boys, and I will accept no other answers.
I think there's 2 reasons that people are probably not talking about him as much as they are. One, as you said, the Ohio State like wide receiver factory that they have. it's unbelievable the talent that they just pump out year in, year out. It's like I feel like every year, every draft class is like, oh, like, yeah, I guess that guy was a wide receiver one at Ohio State, huh? Oh, yeah, because they also have this new freshman that is the next Julio Jones, who is now combined with Antonio Brown. Like, oh, I guess we forgot about this guy. But the other part, too, is that Ohio State, like their track record pre-CJ Stroud was horrendous for quarterbacks. And I think people still have that stigma of like, oh, Ohio State quarterback, like it's not going to get it done. So it will be interesting. I've heard some rumblings. They had a formal meeting with the Steelers. I was like, okay, let's see what happens. But they also met with Quinn Ewers. So I was like, are you guys getting your rankings off of like who was on the cover of NCAA Football 25? So there's a little bit of scariness there. But yeah, Will Howard's going to be a really interesting name to see where he falls in the draft. And there is something to be said. You play to win the game. The guy wins.
I did two mock dynasty startups with for DLF the other day, and in both of them I got Cam Ward and Will Howard with back-to-back picks late in the draft.
I love that. Will Howard has been Will Howard in my ADP has been around. Let me see here. He's going behind Dylan Gabriel right now, like 503. So
is that because Dylan Gabriel threw that like 70-yard pass?
Listen, that whole deal is a complete farce. The zebra scoring on the way that they do the zebra scoring stuff is the most ridiculous thing. And like people took it and ran with it. It's not a radar gun. It's a chip in the ball. And it's completely different than like them throwing the ball, them throwing and using a radar gun. So the 74 miles an hour thing that's like exit velocity. It's not, actually how fast the ball traveled. And I like Dylan Gabriel, but that is the most ridiculous thing. That means that his throwing velocity would be strong. Like he could throw harder than Josh Allen. That's not science.
Look, I like Will Howard. I think Will Howard is he is a later round grab than a Dart or somebody like that. And so like if he's sitting there in even like it's super flex, like late second or
they're right now in super flex. They are ranked 29th and 30th in the rookie class for keep trade cut.
Yeah, he's going as like the QB7 in rookie drafts right now at 503. This is across like 15 miles. So yeah, you can get him. It's almost like he's an afterthought. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills because I'm like, guys, we just watched him do what no other Ohio State quarterback could pull off in the last 10 years, and they brought him in to do this. And then he had a profile before he got there. It was like, hey, I'm an athlete.
It's just the stigma. It's the stigma with Ohio State quarterbacks. Like,
wait, he beat Michigan? Oh no!
It's the stigma with Ohio State quarterbacks. Like they never are like Ohio State. They bring in like athletes that aren't like Will Howard is a non-typical Ohio State quarterback. You look at Justin Fields. You look at like the guys that predated him that obviously didn't make it at quarterback that ended up converting. At receiver or whatever it was. It kind of hits different, but we are like 15 minutes past time. And so I've got to like end this.
I got a whole lot of stuff that I took notes on.
I know, dude. It's just like, you can't control the conversation. For some, Rusty Shackel for lighting up the chat and keeping the conversation rolling. We'll hit, even Deku coming in. He's like, talk about it. I mean, we can keep going. I'm okay with it. The podcasters are gonna yell at me because I'm over an hour, but it's okay. So oh man, goodness gracious, you guys drive me nuts. No, it's absolutely a good time. Rusty, keep going. Okay. So quarterbacks, Will Howard, love the take. Thanks, BHS Cardinal, for the question. I'm glad we could spend 15 minutes on it. But it is because of all the running back hype and because of the wide receiver, the few wide receivers that people hype about, the Tyler Warren hype, it's pushed quarterbacks down because nobody's super hyped about the quarterback. So when you're not hyped about like your number one, like people aren't super psyched about Shedeur, they're not super psyched about Cam Ward. They're kind of like, it's not like previous years where you're like, oh, you gotta grab this person 1-1, this quarterback. When your top guys are there, it pushes people like Will Howard or like Jackson Dart so far down the draft where you go like, man, maybe like while everybody else is sleeping this year, like while they take a nap on this position, maybe it's my opportunity to get extreme value. Mm-hmm. And Will Howard was freaking electric. Like you look at that his performance through the college football playoffs, like that dude owned it. Like he stepped into the light, he stepped into prime time, and he said, let's freaking go, and he got it done. When they were not even – like it felt like during the season, like Ohio State at one point wasn't even a part of the conversation, but they proved it wrong. Now, granted, they had a complete offense. They had a really good running game. Both those running backs went for over 1,000 yards. Like it was a good, complete team. But for a good value, especially for all these teams like the Rams, could Will Howard go to the Rams? Is they're already looking to maybe move on from Stafford in the next year or so? Does that fit? I think so. Who knows?
Not a Stetson Bennett truther. Come on, man.
Nobody. Stetson Bennett's parents didn't draft him in rookie draft.
Stetson Bennett got to get off that juice.
Man,
Stetson Bennett got a nice AARP card though.
Yeah. AA, no RP, just AA card. So okay. As we keep going through here, who do you think is there anybody through the combine? And really, we can't really get to this question because it's going to depend a lot on tomorrow as far as like stock rising.
Yeah.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
But is there anybody so far, even through off season, and Chev, especially as you've dug into the rookie guide for the Fantasy Sports Advice Network, anybody that like wasn't even on your radar that's like just like gone through the roof for value for you?
For value for me, Jaden Higgins was one of the guys, and we talked about it last night on the Pulse. Jaden Higgins is a guy that I like. In watching him, I would, Sam's with me, baby. Yeah. So Jaden Higgins is a guy that, for me, like once you kind of get into it, you just become enamored. You're like, wait, why am I the only one that feels this way? And then, thanks to the internet, thanks to the Twitters, there's like small pockets of people that are just like, all right, don't say the quiet part out loud, guys. Jaden Higgins is really, really yeah. Like, don't get too loud about it because we don't want everybody in the party. Like, you don't want your nosy next door neighbor over there that's just hoarding rookie picks to try to scoop this guy up in the second round. Like, you just want to keep it quiet, like back into the second, maybe early in the third. Like, you just want him. You want him to be just real, just relaxed. So I think, Jaden Higgins and the other guys, Brashard Smith. If you want me to elaborate on Brashard Smith, I most certainly will. But I'm gonna open the floor up to the other two gentlemen here to talk about what they love.
I am also loving Jaden Higgins. He's 6'4" for crying out loud. He wins jump balls like it's his job. Well, I guess it is his job. But I love him to death, and I'm really, the more tape I watch, I'm really excited about Damian Martinez. This guy is he's a tank, man. He's built like a stone, and he doesn't really have like the breakaway speed, but he's still got a little fancy footwork getting through the line. And man, he just rolls people over too that are look like they're twice his size. So I'm anxious to see. I hope he runs a 40 because that's one knock on his game. So I would like to see him improve that, and I think if he does, his stock's going to go way up.
I'm glad I'm not in any leagues with you guys, and that's the worst part about doing this is because you just tell everybody that that you're in leagues with, like, hey, this is what I want, and you can go and see it. It's awesome. So there's a person that I don't have interest in that I think is going to make himself a lot of money tomorrow, and that's Isaiah Bond. He's already talked about how he plans on breaking the record for the 40 time, right? So I think for me, that ends up blowing up and really pushing you up the boards. I didn't think he was even the best player at Texas. I really like Matthew Golden a lot better, but he's going to have a good run tomorrow, and that's going to push him up the draft boards in like real life football. The person that I've really liked, and I think that a lot of people, and there's this like storm that's coming about him, is where's my stuff at? But where did it go? Trey Harris from Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I like him a ton. I think there's a lot of buzz about him, and it's just like it's a really bad kept secret at this point. I feel like, to me, like I could see like he's like a wide receiver 3 or 4 for me this year. I really like him a lot. His game, if you look at his like open score and like his yards per route run against man, it was like 10 or like something absurd. So
his yards per route run versus man was 5.15.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's just broken. Like that shouldn't happen. Yeah, and it's like is Jackson Dart really that guy, or is he the Jordan Addison to the Kenny Pickett?
It's a comment. As much as I'm not pilled up about Jackson Dart as other people are, it's a combination of both. They work in concert really well together. Yeah. On passes that travel 20 plus yards, Trey Harris had almost 400 yards receiving on 9 receptions this year. So it's a combination. And Jackson Dart had over 1,500 yards, which led the country by over 300 yards. So it's both. As much as I would love to say it's all Trey Harris.
What's going to be really interesting too is that there's been a lot of talk about the Heisman Trophy winner, about what he fits in. Like if you look at like rookie drafts right now, because there's all this talk about him being a defensive player, he's going pretty late. He's one of the best wide receivers in this draft. If he ends up playing wide receiver,
there's
the best wide receiver. Opportunity for us, like a steal there. Yes, but it's all the risk of what position does he play.
As far as if I'm an NFL franchise with the number 1 overall pick, I'm taking him. I don't care where I'll decide later where I'm going to put him.
There's a quote from Roy Williams way back in the day when Michael Jordan was entering into the NBA draft, and the Portland Trailblazers were talking to him. They said, "Man, Roy, we've got to draft a center." He goes, "We'll draft Michael Jordan and play him at center," and that's how I feel about Travis Hunter. Like that's how I feel about Travis Hunter. I've been very vocal. Rusty knows Travis Hunter, no matter what. That's where I've been with the number 1 overall pick. Yeah. And I'm reminded that it's not really, really fun to be in two-tone blue with no quarterback. So I'm starting to walk that back a little bit, but it's still Travis Hunter no matter what.
Love it. You got a super chat from Dougie Fresh. Trey is greater than TH12.
Sir Douglas Fresh, a friend of mine. We actually there's no way.
No.
I don't see that. Travis Hunter, he won the Heisman Trophy for a reason.
As much as I love Trey's my wide receiver 3. Travis is my wide receiver 1, and I will not be moved off of that.
Yep.
Look, here's the thing about Trey Harris. Like when you watch his comp, it's so much of like a DK Metcalf, but without the dishpan hands. You know what I mean? Like you get those vibes from him. Like,
what are you, a Minnesota Vikings fan? Are you trying to wish him to Green Bay?
Like, I think he could be good. You know, but
dishpan hands.
That's DK, bro. I saw a thing today. It was talking about the Packers. The Packers have apparently sent an offer for DK consisting of their their first round pick, Romeo Dobbs and Dontavian Wicks.
I think it was one of those two. It was like they could pick.
Okay, for DK Metcalf, so they could sign him to a fat contract.
Oh, wow. I like it for both sides, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, DK's going to have to re-up. DK's going to have to be re-upped after this year too. So
right, and you're going to have to pay JSN. You can get a wide receiver to replace him at 23, and then you still have your first round pick.
Oh, sure. I like the trade. I like to get the first round pick. Like 1.27 is nice. Or like I'm good with it. It just like DK for me is like an explosive athlete, but the hands have always been the question. And like Trey, I feel like the contested catches, right, is where he wins. And that's what you want in like a big bodied receiver. So I'm excited to see how that goes. I'm excited to see how he does. We'll see.
If I was Seattle, I'd take the pick and tell them they can keep Dobbs and Wicks.
If they're really,
you don't want to give up value if you like. Both of those guys are cheap. Like I'll take those alongside the pick. Like it's not going to hurt me.
I just don't want them.
Sure, but I mean, like as a wide receiver 4, like you want that or you want Dwayne Eskridge. Like
I think that Josh Jacobs just took over Sam and was like, "All right, we're going to speak all this hatred that I feel about these guys." Because Josh
yeah,
Jacobs. Like,
I can't stand the wide receivers for Green Bay.
I mean, they're honestly a competent passing game away from being a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, they do no fantasy favors. Like, the Green Bay Packers, it could be anybody's day. Like literally, and it will only be one of their days. Like it'll be a Reed day, or it'll be a Wicks day, or it'll be a Christian Watson
The
2
problem
catches
is-
and a touchdown day.
Yeah,
Like,
And the same guy will drop everything thrown to him the following week.
Yeah, it could be anybody's day, or it could also be nobody's day. Just that easily. Like it is the most frustrating thing because you don't know who to bet on because none of those guys are real like number ones. Josh Jacobs hit it on the head. Even though you're not supposed to do that to your teammates, he was telling the truth.
Yeah, he said the quiet part out loud for sure.
I think the Green Bay definitely is looking for a wide receiver. I like Rusty Ibuka. I have him pretty high for me. I think he's a good player, man. He's a good route runner. I really like him going into this draft. And the value, continues to rise on these guys. I am excited how I get excited in the offseason. Like, I was the guy that played Madden and just like managed the team. I never played the games. I just built and managed teams. And I loved freaking the offseason and drafts and trading and like in fantasy, even it's the same way, and so like I eat, breathe, and sleep the offseason. Like this is exciting for me. I love the conversation. You guys have been stellar tonight. Let me ask you this. 40 time. And I'm gonna ask this because Bond came out today and said he wasn't gonna run just a 4.2 something, or he wasn't just gonna break the record. He was gonna run a 4.1 something. Who do you have for the fastest 40? And if it is Bond, do you think he can actually get sub 4.2?
If he gets a sub 4.2, Al Davis is going to come out of the grave and draft him with that first round pick.
Oh my gosh!
Because that boy loves speed.
Oh my God, that's funny. That's funny. Sam, what about you?
I hope he doesn't do that because I hate hearing John Ross's name every year. I'm so tired of that. No, I don't think,
are we?
That was the second time he said it. He said it right after Worthy did it. He said he'd run a 4.2 and beat him, and then he just doubled down on it and went further and said, 4.1 something. And you got to love that confidence. I do. Bond is not my pick. for it. My pick is actually a defensive player in Damian Porter, who is consistently clocked.
He ran a 4.3 today.
Miles an hour. So, when everybody else hits their stride, he's still gaining speed. He doesn't have to be the first one off the blocks, and he can still take it home.
Yeah, I think he ran, and you guys can correct me, I think he ran a 4.3 today on the 40. Hairston out of Kentucky beat him barely. I think the official time was a 4.28.
No.
Maxwell Hairston?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the good, I mean, both are strong times. I mean, Porter did really good. Porter
was flying.
I think he had a better, they were talking about a more complete, like when he went through all of the skilled, position drills, he had a more complete high volume performance. Hairston beat him in the 40, obviously, but I think that, Porter's obviously, that's a good choice. He's got a lot of hype behind him. But he did get beat today. But out of the skill positions, you look at wide receiver, running back, is Bond the consensus one, or do you have anybody else on the offensive side of the ball that you think can be?
There's two guys.
I think it's Smith. I think Smith pretty much has to fall down.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Aniyah Smith out of Georgia is the guy that I'd put if you were going to say, hey, flip a coin, it's between he and Bond. I think that Dylan Sampson might have a shot at it, but running backs, you just rarely ever see that type of speed at running back. So I think Aniyah Smith would be the other guy that's in contention to run. Biggs, co-host of the Dynasty Pulse, got to interview Aniyah Smith, and he said, hey, are you going to try to break the record? And they had a conversation that he had mostly off camera, but he said, yeah, I consistently have run 4.2s while training. So if I get to train for this the whole time, I think I have a shot at breaking the record.
And he was banged up most of the year. He had the whole ankle thing, so he's probably a lot healthier than he was on the field this year at any point.
You should be able to bring your own stopwatch guy like they do for the home run derby when you pick your pitcher.
The crazy thing is Smith's 40 projection. His 40 projection, you look at NFL Draft Buzz, you look at
How disgusting, by the way, that they do that. We are betting on people running in a straight line for 4 seconds. We need help.
But his projection is somewhere between a 4.4 and a 4.5.
Yeah, I don't know if the dudes over there are familiar with his game all the way, because this is a guy that's a state champion in the 100 and 200 in Georgia. And I don't know if you know about Georgia track, but those boys are fast.
Yeah. In 2023, his highest clock was 22.5 miles per hour on the field.
Well, yeah, and his teammate Malachi Starks is fast as hell too, and I think he ran track there too. He ran track before Georgia as well.
So. Yeah, we won't get into track because then I'm gonna start planting the Arkansas Razorback flag, and this show isn't about that. But we got Rusty in the chat saying someone join me for the RJ Harvey flag.
You missed it last night. We had a whole RJ Harvey love fest on the Dynasty Pulse.
I saw.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
I also saw the short. I'm like, okay, maybe I need to go look at RJ Harvey,
It sucks because all these guys aren't going to hit, but it's so fun right now to look at what they've done in college and be like, well, this is what could be. But, so the truth is somewhere in between this guy being the next Barry Sanders and him being the next Brandon Oliver.
For sure. Let me drop the link into the chat for the Fantasy Pulse last night. That's the one with Cluj in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll drop that in the chat so that you can check it out, Rusty. Wrong. If you haven't already.
Man, there's a question here, and I'm waiting for you to put it on the screen because that
I don't know if you've seen the previous discourse in the chat about this question, but these folks need to go to a church immediately.
Is it the? Did I miss it? Is it like further up? Or?
It's that most immediate one, but it's been asked a couple times now, and the things that have evolved from that, I think I'm gonna have to have a conversation with my wife about the things that have occurred right now.
Is it this one?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's a little further up, and I don't know if you want to put the responses on the screen. But I'll answer this one. I will feel very validated. Everybody knows, Deku knows especially, I started as a Caleb Johnson denier. But again, I was assigned him for the rookie guide, and I love what I see. I mean, he compares to all the guys.
I saw that.
You found it.
I'm catching up on the responses. I'm sorry for those who are watching this show and it is inappropriate. If Caleb Johnson runs a 4.4 at 225, that will be a freaking that will be a fast hammer.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what you look for. Like that's like your dream running back. You want them heavy, you want them stocky, and you want them fast. And so that, I mean, I'd be pumped. I think if he runs a 4.4 tomorrow, he definitely increases on my my rankings board.
Now let me ask you guys this: you're gonna call me crazy, but I'm not comparing the way his career played out.
You're crazy.
Here we go.
Is there not a little bit of Todd Gurley there? Like the long speed.
Todd Gurley was so long, though. He's tall.
He's 6'1", and Caleb's 6 foot. And Todd was 230, Todd was 230 coming out of the University of Georgia. Like, Todd's a grown man. He's one of my favorite running backs of all time. I just like the long runway open field is. I'm not saying
his breakaway is unbelievable.
Yeah.
If you look at the percentage of long runs that he had, I think it was 14-15% that he
the breakaway run rate.
Yeah, it was insane. So yeah, I'm all in. And I see him being a round 2 sort of guy. I think that depending on where he gets drafted, there's a lot of talk about what's going to happen with the Ohio State running backs. I have him ahead of both of those guys. I really like everything that I have from him. So it's I got Genty, Hampton, and then he's 3 for me.
Yeah, he's 3 for me as well. I have it exactly that. And I started out with him as my RB, my RB 11. And so just the belief just grew a little bit, bit by bit every day.
It was like the Grinch's heart. It grew 3 sizes that day.
Yeah.
I just made it through the chat.
Oh yeah, you'll see exactly what's going on. RB11 was always so disrespectful. Probably so. There's so many running backs like that. It's so volatile. Look at Dylan Sampson. He has been he's here next day, then he's dropped down here. Somebody's talking about somebody else. It's such a crazy room of running backs. We're experiencing that. It could be anybody's day. And that's why, I would say, and anybody watching the show right now, 1, hit the like button and the subscribe button. But 2, well done. Draft landing spot is going to matter more this year than it has ever, because you have so much talent at the position. It's all going to be about who gets the opportunity. We've seen great running backs go to teams and then they get forgotten about because they're behind some stud for 3 years and they never get their shot. And then we see running backs like you look at James Robinson coming into the draft, like undrafted free agent, gets an opportunity, is electric in Jacksonville. Hopefully you bought him, you rode him for like 2 years and then you sold him. But it's about opportunity. So there are teams where some of these players can have instant opportunity and then their value is so much higher because the talent is there across the pool. We have fast guys. We have fast guys that carry weight. We have guys that can run through contact. We have guys with lateral movement. Like, it is a vast talent.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Class. And so, like, when you get into that, the landing spot matters so much. And so, when you look at your draft picks will never matter more or as much as they will after the draft.
It's interesting because I don't buy into the landing spot thing. I don't think that's real, but I will say that the draft capital does matter. I think good players find their way onto the field and they make it happen. And if they don't, it's whatever to me. But if you worry too much about draft capital, that's how you end up with Jalen Reagor instead of Justin Jefferson. So
I agree with that. And I understand why people subscribe to the landing spot ideals, but I'm not one of them. I trust in the talent when I draft. I mean, I'm drafting guys that I think will take over the job. You know what I mean? Even if it's in 1 year.
Yeah.
If I got to wait 1 year, I mean, look at Trey Benson. You think he's still going to be James Conner's backup this year? No. Did I draft him all over the place last year? I sure did.
I think he has 1 more year before he really starts pushing the envelope for Trey Benson. But like draft landing spot, so talent matters, but draft landing spot also matters significantly. You look at Bucky Irving, like if Bucky Irving wasn't behind a mediocre running back in Rachaad White, he doesn't hit like he hits, right? And provide immediate fantasy relevance.
Sure.
Like year one. And then like you look at years going forward, he's got that spot locked down. And I mean, Chev, I know you hit your chest when I said mediocre running back in Rachaad White, but it hurts, but it's true. He's middle tier.
Yeah. I think it's a good way to separate players that you feel that are even. I think if you sip too much of the Kool-Aid and it's like, all right, like if you look at like JSN, it was like, oh, he went to Seattle. They already have 2 established receivers there. And then for some reason, he wasn't your wide receiver 1. Like, we need to reevaluate like what we're doing when that happens. But it's like, hey, like if say, I don't know, if the 2 guys from Ohio State, one gets put into an immediate starter role and the other one gets somewhere where it's like, hey, he's probably going to be a backup, then yeah, if everything else is the same, that can be a good tiebreaker. But I think it's too easy to say, oh, well, I need to draft a Worthy now because he got drafted by the Chiefs. And it's like, all right, like, does that really make sense? It's a dangerous game. But with running backs historically, if you look at fantasy football, it's common sense, but we don't think about these things sometimes. You are going to run the ball more if you're winning. So if they're getting drafted to a team that's a winning team, they're going to do better in fantasy too.
Well, you have to concern yourself with, I mean, sometimes the perfect landing spot isn't the perfect landing spot. I mean, I saw a lot of problems all through the process last year with Keon Coleman. I thought he was a horrible wide receiver. And he went to Buffalo, and all of a sudden his stock went way up.
He's dumb.
And what did he do in Buffalo? I don't know.
He had terrible separation metrics, but
so there are two things. One, the Keon Coleman point is important because of the fact that, well, Joe Brady just doesn't use outside wide receivers. That's just not his deal. Like, we've seen it now with whatever he did in Carolina with DJ Moore, and then he did it again this year in Buffalo. And then going back to the landing spot, I think landing spot is much more important for the guys that are late day 2 or day 3 guys.
Yes.
I think it's much more important there, because you don't get an opportunity for a guy like Kyron Williams to step into and emerge in a place where you've got someone, say, like the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, if they go DeAndre Swift, like, or just in one of those environments, or if he would have ended up in, say, like Detroit, and then they like the platoon system, and he was the odd guy out because they had Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift, and then they moved on to Montgomery and Gibb. Like, if it's much more important for the guys that have less draft capital, I would say anything beyond round 3, it's much more important for those guys because, one, they're not as guaranteed of a roster spot, and 2, you have to evaluate like what their situation is, because they're obviously not being drafted to be a starter at that point. It's just kind of depth, and then let's take a shot on what we believe could happen, but we're not married to someone. We're not married to someone because we've committed a bunch of money, year over year for this guy.
Yeah, I guess ideally what I was trying to say is the people that I feel comfortable in my evaluation for, I don't really care where they land. I won't fade them if I'm that excited about them as a player and their talent. But I am open to have my mind changed on somebody that I had further down the board that, yes, came into a much more favorable situation.
The guy, I said Kyron, the guy that comes to mind for me is a guy from the 2017 class, Aaron Jones. I mean, he's a 5th round pick, and then, you're not really expecting anything. And there's a ton of guys that are going to get off to a much more Aaron Jones than Bucky Irving start to their career. And we've just got to stay true to our evaluation.
So this is the differentiator for me. And I'm speaking from a fantasy perspective. So, when it comes to fantasy, the shelf life of a running back is minimal when in comparison to a wide receiver or a quarterback or even a tight end. Like, those positions traditionally give you longer lifespan of significant value. And so for a running back, the reason that landing spot matters so much is because immediate effectiveness, unless you land a player that is a generational talent, like somebody like CMC or Derrick Henry, that's going to give you years of longevity and performance. Unless you land somebody like that, you basically have a 3 to 4 year window for that person to get their top tier performance, out of it. And you do have people like, you got a Chuba Hubbard, you got like, a Kyron Williams who do develop later. Maybe it takes them 2 years to become something, right? But then you have players that fall off fast. So that's why it's literally a positional thing. Like a JSN was talent, right? Like, I drafted JSN, was happy to draft JSN in the first round. I knew it wasn't going to be year 1, but I knew that he would make his mark. At wide receiver, 100%. At running back, with the lifespan considered, that's why you have to consider landing spot, because I need players, if they only get 4 years to really compete, right? I want to have at least 3 of those. I want to sell them before it's done. So that, I think, is the position differential when we talk about landing spot versus talent. Talent's going to prevail, sure. But you can have running backs that have all the talent and it prevails, and then you only get 2 years of usage because then they drop, right? I would rather try to get 3 to 4 years of like Bucky Irving is a perfect example. I think Bucky Irving is going to give us probably at least the next 4 years of substantial performance. Then he's going to drop off. You look at like, freaking Javonte Williams, people were drafting him in the top round, or top draft picks, and like injury, like he's now hit his, like, I don't know that we're going to get that much more from him moving forward.
Especially with his class and just like how big it is and how much quality talent you have. Why would I pay money for a guy when I can go draft someone who doesn't have the injury history and all that stuff? Like, it's a scary time to be a running back. Like, even you look like Najee Harris, top free agent off the board. How much are people willing to pay him when you can go and draft, say, one of these guys like Caleb Johnson in the second round?
Yeah. Well, the age for the cliff has gotten a little bigger because people in the NFL realized that they were making it too short. They were saying,
but not everybody's
the guy is done, and then they spread it out to, well, after 4 years the guy is done. And then what happened last year was like a record number of veterans changing teams. Not only because the draft class for running backs was weak, but because there were so many guys that still had gas in the tank at 27, 28 years old. A lot of it has to do with their teams and their surroundings.
You look at, like, for example, like one of Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry spends like $200,000 a year, $250,000 a year just in body upkeep. Right?
Do you not?
Yeah. Say what?
You don't?
Do I spend? No. No, bro. I'm lucky to make it through groceries. Like, my wife, like, it's like making sure I'm eating right. Like, I ain't spending 250, But it's just different when it comes to running backs, and I love the conversation. It's definitely big, a big point, and I think it pertains when you look at positional. I think when you look at positions, it differs, and in fantasy you have to view it that way. You can't put everybody on the same platform, the same pedestal. You got to view positions separately. You got to look at the lifespan separately. You got to look at the opportunity for optimal performance, right? Because, like, if I take it like this last year, I took wide receivers because there were like tons of like 19-year-old wide receivers that were going to be freaking electric. And we see that, with the McConkey and with the Neighbors and with the, freaking
Brian Thomas Jr.,
and like you locked in players that.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Blew 1,000 yards away in their rookie season, and you have them for the next 10 years, 6 to 10 years of optimal performance. Where running back, you're not going to get that. And so I would say landing spot matters in those instances, but you have to look at it separately. Go ahead, Chef.
Yeah, but case by case basis, I think.
I would say that the way that I've learned, or the thing that I've kind of adapted with running backs, is trying to marry up what I felt about their talent with their draft capital and what those contracts look like. So obviously, if you get a first round running back, you're getting that 5th year option. So you got pretty much a 5-year window, if everything goes really well, to know that guy is certain. Like, once a guy gets to their third year of that 4-year contract, I'm like Breece Hall to me, we all know what type of talent Breece Hall is, but he's going into the last year of a deal. And now, like, you've got Lance Zierlein mocking Ashton Genty to the Jets. And, it's like, and it seems really crazy. But I mean, Sam said earlier, he's like, man, Ashton Genty could come off the board at 6 to the Raiders. So is it that crazy? So
the Raiders need somebody. They need help.
Right. And like NFL, like, one, we talk about how crazy, we talk about how there's windows for these guys, and you want to be getting out, like you want to maximize that production and then get out, because that second contract is typically when you want to be out on a lot of these guys. Yeah. Because, you know, they're immediately becoming cap casualties because of the fact that, like, I mean, look at Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon, you know, stalwart Bengals running back, consistent, only RB1 from 2020 to 2024, and the Bengals just let him go for a bag of chips, and he goes to Houston and gets an extension to get his third contract. But how often does it happen to where those guys just – I mean, Dalvin Cook, for example, he got to the second contract, boom, we're done. And that was after, you know, that was after him being an RB1. So I think that there's a very important entry point that we have to pay attention to, and that's, you know, when that guy breaks out. And then there's a very, like, you've got to be looking to get out once that guy's like a year or two into their second contract, if they're not, you know, bona fide RB1s.
Yeah.
Even if they are bona fide RB1s. I mean, like I said, Dalvin Cook had a great season, and now he's been jobless for the last 2 years.
Yeah, when I'm looking into evaluating players for trades or whatever, I look less at their actual age and more at their contract status. You know, like if I'm in contention and he's going into a contract year, oh, great, I'll take him because he's probably going to try to run his ass off. But, you know, free agents, I'm staying away from. First year on the second contract, no thanks. I'm always looking at those contracts.
Yeah, we're lockstep in that, Sam.
Yeah. You said it. You said it better.
Well, guys, I'm gonna hit a question we missed earlier. I'm gonna roll up here and land this one, and then I think this is gonna kind of close out our night. I'm officially out of bourbon, which is a detriment to this show. You know, so I'm gonna jump up here. So Dougie Fresh, which appreciate you, you know, you dropped the super chat in tonight. I wanted to make sure we got to this question for you.
Thanks,
what
Dougie.
is the latest pick you would want in a 12-person PPR Superflex tight end premium in this rookie draft? I'm guessing it's this rookie draft, but like the latest pick that you would want.
Startup?
No. He means rookie draft.
It could be like a startup situation where you're like, you can draft like a pick, like, you know, like you draft a kicker and then that becomes like a draft pick kind of thing. Maybe it's
well, just the rookie draft probably.
Okay.
Yeah, he said in the chat, he said, "Yep, rookie."
The facetious answer is I always want to pick 12. But I think as far as like talent this year in tight end premium, I would be willing to sit at like 8 or 9. I think that I could still get somebody that I really like in that range. I don't really have, like I said, I'm not really big on the quarterback. So to me, like the super flex element is playing in my favor because at some point people are going to say, hey, I'm going to take one of these quarterbacks just because the value is there for the type of game that you're playing. The tight ends are going to get boosted up. So to me, it's like when in doubt, pick a running back this year. I'm going to pick to the strength of the draft. So I think that I could get Caleb Johnson at like the 8 or 9 and leave that draft feeling really happy about that. So to me, that's where I would probably want to land if I had the choice.
What about you, Sam?
I would say 8 as well. I don't think I would really want to go further down than that. And when we're starting to get into choppy water at that point. But yeah, I'd be happy with whoever I came up with it at the 8th pick.
I think for me, yeah, I actually answered him in the chat. But I went 9. 9 was like, we're all right there. Like, I think 9 would probably be the latest I would be willing to go. Right now, Caleb is at the 110 in this ADP I put together. And if I walked away with Caleb at the 110, there's no telling what I would do in the cement aisle.
Oh my God. Oh, I need more bourbon for that conversation.
I need Jesus and like 2 other deities. Like,
you know, I don't mind being late in this draft. Like this draft is so thick, and like, especially in Superflex or tight end premium, right? So when you go Superflex, tight end premium, you're probably, you could get darts probably coming in around that 8 pick or the 7 pick, maybe even the 10 pick, somewhere in there, because you have your Shadur, you have your Cam Ward, you have your Genty, you have you
got Tet,
you have so many people,
Golden,
there that like really you could probably come in at like 8 or 9, maybe even 10, and still leave with either one of those top wide receivers or like QB 3 or 4, which I'm happy with. And then if I'm late, I'm in on the swing around, right? So like I'm getting pick number 4 or 5 in the second round. And then I can grab, you may be able to get one of those later running backs, or you may have Will Howard sitting there. You may have, you may have like one of the top. You probably wouldn't have Warren, but like Loveland could be there and early in the second, if you wanted to go tight end strong, like because it's tight end premium.
If you're doing a snake, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, even if you're not doing a snake, like I think even if you're doing linear, which most rookie drafts are,
right?
Like you're probably seeing, pretty. You're seeing some of those guys. You're still seeing Will Howard. You're seeing especially at the 8, you're seeing one of those guys, or maybe a Loveland, or maybe a fan. For sure you're seeing Fan in there, but like there's a lot there. I wouldn't mind picking there.
If I'm just like 4 through 6, I'm trying to trade down this year. I don't know if people are going to have to fight for, but I would love to trade down in that position.
See, I'm comfortable in that 4 to 6 range. If I'm like anything besides the 101, like 101 to 104, I'm trying to trade back like closer to the first round, and I'm trying to get as much capital in rounds 2 and 3 because that's where I feel like the value is. Like the guys like Dylan
100%.
Sampson are going to get pushed down. Devin Neal's going to get pushed down probably. I would love to have like 1-1 or the back of the first round, and then sell that first round capital for a later first, and then try to get as many picks as I can between like 2-1 and 3-12 as I possibly can.
Yeah, if I've got the 1-4, like I'm trying to dish that. I want 110. I want 2, like it all compounds. And like, I think I'm definitely in a trade down. Like for me this year, it's a trade down 100%.
Unless you're in the leagues, I definitely won't trade down.
No, I'm pretty set. I'm pretty set on taking Ibuka at 4 right there. So
yeah, in fact, I'm going to give my next 3 years first round picks so that I can get the 1-1 and I can leave with Genty in this draft. I'll give 3 first to get no. Maybe. I'm on a pretty strong championship run, so I'm going to be giving like 3 112s, to maybe. No, I'm just kidding.
I got in three of my leagues, I have a grand total of 11 first-round picks.
Oh, wow. You really do like the rebuild. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I love the rebuilds.
He's that guy. He's selling out everything.
So anybody that
I would
trade
love
down
you in
with
my
is
league
me.
because I'm going to give you I'll give you a first round pick and you give me like 3 of your studs and I'm going to go win a championship and
right.
You're gonna build on future. It's okay.
You should have seen the way everybody was looking last year when I took Neighbors and Harrison Jr. back to back.
You're like the Rams trading what all they gave away to get Stafford. That
right.
It's all good. Dougie Fresh, man, appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the love. Much appreciated. We now took this show 2 hours, which is beyond the normal. Like this is double the time we typically do. So I'm gonna lock this thing down. If you need any more questions answered, or if you want any more interaction, there are 2 ways that can happen. One, you go to FantasySportsAdvice.network and you sign up for the social media platform and you drop your questions there. It's free. go to the Football General space, drop your questions. All these guys here are happy to jump in and answer. Or 2, tune in next week at 9 o'clock Central Time for From the Forum. We are here every Friday night. So if you're not out on a date, or if you're like me and you're married, you've been married 10 years, and Friday nights aren't date night anymore, this is the place you can be. And we are going to deliver the fantasy goodness. If you're like Joe and you just had your first kid, which is an absolute tank, you can be here on Friday nights, and we will give you good content. We will give you laughs, and we will give you takes, from the occasional legendary ball knower himself, or just me mouthing myself, or our guests like Sam. Man, appreciate you for being a part of the show and dropping your advice. You had some really good stuff to offer the viewers, and so appreciate
Glad to be here, man. Look forward to the next time.
Yeah, but we're here, and we're here for you. This is the only Q&A driven show that we put on our channel. So bring the questions. That's what we live for, and we're here to hopefully give you some good takes and help you win your leagues. That's it. So anyways, next week, Friday night, 9 o'clock Central, we'll see you. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate y'all. Much love. Like, subscribe, all that jazz. See you after the combine. Good luck tomorrow.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to Fantasy Sports Advice.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1, go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2, collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3, play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games, all for free?
Step 4, unleash your excitement.
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.